that my friend Harry Dent, he's always saying buy treasury bills. But I'm concerned, if what I think is about to happen is going to happen, which is the demise of the U.S. dollar, the hegemony of it and its power and its reserve status. If the U.S. dollar goes bad and fiat currencies go bad, what happens to bonds? And the question is, how safe are bonds? Because I have a friend, he has not a million, he has hundreds of millions in bonds. And yesterday I went and bought some more silver and hid them in my secret mountain vault. But he says, he won't touch silver. He says, U.S. treasuries are it. So with that question, when he's got hundreds of millions stashed in U.S. treasuries, he sounded like Harry Dent. So to clarify all this, we brought on Adam Taggart, and he and his former partner, Chris Martinson, they talked about not the dollar milkshake theory, which was Brent Johnson, but they talked about the eyedropper of water and a football stadium, because I think that the last eyedrop is about to hit, because that football stadium's almost filled up.
And for folks that don't know the eyedrop and stadium reference, this is really about the power of exponential growth. So imagine somebody takes a magic eyedropper and walks down to the pitcher's mound and squeezes out a single drop of water right there on the pitcher's mound. And that drop of water doubles in volume every minute. So minute 1, it's 1 drop in size. Minute 2, it's 2 drops in size. Minute 3, it's 4 drops in size. Minute 4, it's 8 drops in size, right? So the question is if you got handcuffed to the topmost bleacher seat in the stadium, how long would you have to escape your handcuffs before the stadium was underwater? And, most people will say, I don't know, a year, months. The answer is very surprising. The answer is 45 minutes, much less time than you think.
A lot of times in America can't see because we're a goldfish bowl. Everybody looks in, but we don't see out. I'm looking at what happened in Sri Lanka, what's happening in Brazil, what's happening in England, what's going to happen in Germany but we can't see it as Americans. And
I think the goldfish bowl is a great analogy too, because goldfish really have incredibly short-term memories. We just... So do we.
So do we.
So I'm sitting here watching all this, and so that's why I keep thinking of the eyedrop theory. I said, when pitcher's mound is covered and I'm sitting in the top bleacher, how much time have I got? And I don't know if you had the chance to call him, as Andy Scheckman. He was Miles Franklin. He's one of the most accurate goal guy I've ever. His macro of the world is precise. But he was talking about in 2019, when Biden abandoned Afghanistan, the next day, Saudi Arabia went to talk to China and Russia. And this is 2019, and just a couple of days ago, Saudi Arabia switched from the petrodollar to shifting to a gold-backed yuan. And nobody even notices that. So Saudi Arabia joined forces with Russia, China, Brazil, India, South Africa.
And I think, too, some people don't understand when Kissinger cut the deal with Saudi Arabia and said, the petrodollar, said, we will protect you militarily, and in exchange, you're going to sell your oil in U.S. dollars, which has propped up the U.S. dollar. And now when we pulled out of Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia goes, maybe I can't trust you to protect us because you didn't protect them.
Well, that and when Russia invaded Ukraine, basically the U.S. weaponized the financial system against Russia.
Right.
And a lot of other countries looked at that, basically seizing Russia's assets that were held abroad and whatnot. And a lot of countries looked at that and said, whoa, I'm in the U.S.'s good graces right now, but I might not always be.
Exactly.
And if they could do that to me. So, what we've done in the response to the war in Ukraine, whatever you think about it, we have basically provided a pretty strong incentive for many countries to accelerate their plans to de-dollarize. And that's exactly what you're just talking about with the steps that Saudi Arabia took there. And I have not talked to Andy yet, though I appreciate you putting us in contact, Robert. So I can't talk really authoritatively about that last statement about them switching to, some sort of potentially gold-backed yuan thing. But I certainly have heard a lot of commentary recently about the BRICS countries working on a commodity-backed currency to rival the dollar, and probably going to be priced in gold grams and whatnot. We can debate.
Wait. There's two more things that happened. You had the Nord Stream pipeline was bombed.
Yep.
I mean, was that an accident? Did it just happen to blow up? And the other thing that happened, the reason you're on today is because when who's the new prime or the future ex-prime minister of England what did she try and do?
Liz Truss, who's already out.
Yeah. She's gone. The shortest term prime minister in history, but because she raised interest rates, whatever she did, or no, she tried to cut and all this stuff, the whole bond market nearly came apart, their pensions came apart, and then they had to bring a new prime minister in already. So all of this is happening, and Americans are wondering, well, who's going to win the midterm?
Well,
that is important. Midterms are important.
Great point, which is kind of back to our stadium, like where are we on the big picture of where things are headed? We are beginning to see, as things, as you go along an exponential curve, things happen faster and faster, right? And so we're beginning to see more of these really big things that we just really couldn't have ever expected would happen, right? The Saudis are maybe, beginning to reject the petrodollar. England's bond market almost blew up. And to your point, Robert, somebody just sabotaged the Nord Stream pipeline. I don't think I don't think anybody debates that this was an act of sabotage. Now you can talk, a lot of people are pointing fingers in different directions. We're seeing more of these things that nobody could have seen coming, more of these sort of black swans. And of course, the more they are and the faster they happen, the more the odds of something really systemic breaking and something really bad happening obviously increases.
But a big part here is they want to destroy hegemony of the U.S. dollar, which came in place in 1944 with Bretton Woods. The dollar became the gold standard of the world, or the reserve currency of the world. And then 1971, Nixon took us off the gold standard, and we went from being a capitalist state to a credit state. So everything is floating on debt right now. Bonds are debt also. And so when Harry Dent is yelling about, you should buy U.S. Treasuries, I said, but I think they're going to torpedo the U.S. Treasury. And that's what we called you, Adam, is because what the hell is a bond?
You know what
I mean? How safe is it? How safe? That was 2019. The repo market blew up again. The last time that blew up was 2008. And the reason the repo market is important is like repossession. Do you know how valuable is the asset that you think is an asset? Are they going to come and repo your dollar, or would they rather repo your refrigerator? Do you know what I mean? What has more value today? In 2019, that's what blew up also. Again, how valuable is a bond?
If you are borrowing from the U.S. Treasury, that is considered, and we can debate this in a minute, but that's considered to be basically about the safest type of debt that you can take on. And one of the reasons why it's so safe is, first, the U.S. is the biggest, most stable player out there on a relative basis, but also we have a printing press. So if we really get in trouble, the Federal Reserve can basically print up the money to give to the Treasury to make sure that they pay you back. So, you are going to get paid back at least nominally, meaning if I give you $100, it's a high likelihood you're going to give me $100 back. Now, if they had to print those $100 to pay me back, then maybe those $100 are devalued a bit by inflation. But again, borrowing from the U.S. Treasury, relative basis, pretty darn safe.